Reet, Kaur, Sahni, and you're watching the World Report. We've got an action-packed bulletin lined up for you. Let's take you through the top stories of the hour. The Trump administration seems to lack clarity on their stance on India. In a fresh development, the White House advisor, Peter Navarro, has labelled the Ukraine conflict as Modi's war. Now, he's claimed that India's purchase of discounted Russian oil has burdened American taxpayers, while saying that India could get a 25% reduction in US tariffs if it stops buying oil from Russia. Now, Peter Navarro has also referred to the conflict as influenced by India, saying that the path to peace runs through New Delhi. What's also important is that Navarro has largely maintained the same stance. His colleague, on the other hand, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, seems to have gone back on his original stance and has said that he has hope for the relations between the two countries to come together eventually. The top Trump administration official said that India-US relationships are very complicated, but Bessent said that he believes that the two sides would eventually come together. While tracking more stories for you, the Trump administration aims to tighten the duration of visas for students, cultural exchange visitors and members of the media. According to proposed government regulation, these changes are in direct response to Trump administration's concerns about oversight and national security. Under the new framework, student and exchange visas could be capped at 4 years, while foreign journalists would be limited to 240 days with options for extension. For Chinese nationals on journalist visas, the cap would be even stricter at 90 days.
Well, the biggest point of contention here would be the 4-year period that the US administration is talking about now. So they're saying that before the students who got into the US territory for studies, they could stay there for as long as they wanted, as long as they needed to complete the degree. But that won't be the case anymore. They will have a 4-year cap on that time, and they will have to exit the US territory after that. So this is the biggest change, and that it's still in the proposal stage. It will have to be seen when it's actually implemented. But US administration has been quite swift when it comes to clamping down on immigration in the last few months. This is a part of a wider crackdown on immigration, particularly talking about students here now, and also other professionals such as journalists, physicians. So there will be a cap on journalists entering the US territory as well. 240-day cap is there at the moment. It will have to be formally recognized. So far it's still in the proposal stages. It will have to be seen how soon they actually go through with this. It's likely that they will most likely go through with this rule in the next 45 days to 60 days. What some reports are suggesting, but it will have wider implication because Asian continent, particularly India and China, provide a lot of these students to the US, and who go on to be qualified professionals, high-tech professionals in the US territory. So how the US, the wider industry is affected, that will also be analyzed, because the Asian population has been powering the US economy for decades now. So all of that will have to be seen.
While shifting tracks to other stories, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Japan from 29th to 30th of August, his 8th visit to the country. Along with his Japanese counterpart Shigeru Ishiba, PM Modi will host the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit on Friday. The two prime ministers will review the special strategic and global partnership between India and Japan, which includes defense and security, trade and economy, and technology and innovation. It also includes people-to-people exchanges, and they will also discuss issues of regional as well as global importance. Take a look at this special report.
It is often said that the personal dynamics of leaders shape diplomatic ties. Few relationships in Indian diplomacy are as personal, as enduring as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bond with Japan. Ahead of his 8th visit to Tokyo, the spotlight once again is on this crucial partnership that has shaped not just India's strategic trajectory, but also Asia's power balance.
India and Japan, we have excellent relationship. We have excellent political relationship, business relationship, and of course, people-to-people connect. If you go in this country, any part of this country, you will see an India connect, any part of this country. So we have a very solid base on which we are building our relationship.
Not just any bilateral visit. The Prime Minister's next trip to Japan continues a tradition which began long before he took the top post. As Gujarat Chief Minister, Mr. Modi took numerous trips to the country and also hosted Japanese investors in Gandhinagar, rolling out the red carpet for the Japanese industry, making Japan a partner in Gujarat's growth journey. As Prime Minister, his personal connection to Japan translated seamlessly into Delhi's foreign policy. Since 2014, Modi has met Japanese leaders almost every year, whether in Washington for the Quad Alliance meetings or during bilateral visits, a record unmatched with any other partner.
भारत और जापान का रिश्ता केवल डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशन से कहीं ऊपर सांस्कृतिक और भरोसे का रिश्ता है। हम एक दूसरे की प्रगति में अपनी प्रगति देखते हैं। मारुति सुजुकी के साथ हमने जो जर्नी शुरू की थी, वो अब बुलेट ट्रेन की स्पीड तक पहुंच चुकी है।
Perhaps the bond that redefined this relationship was the one between the Prime Minister and former Japanese PM Shinzo Abe, a friendship like no other. A friendship captured in images of the two leaders praying at Kyoto's iconic Buddhist temples or performing Aarti in Varanasi. A relationship strengthened by a leader, Prime Minister Modi, called a champion of India-Japan friendship. In fact, upon Abe's assassination and untimely death, Prime Minister Modi declared a one-day state mourning and even attended his funeral, paying tribute to what he said was a phenomenal friend of India. That bond has continued with Abe's successors, Yoshihide Suga and Fumio Kishida, as Tokyo and New Delhi push this special strategic and global partnership.
Up to this point, I have described Japan's plan to develop a free and open Indo-Pacific. To achieve this, India is an indispensable partner.
7 visits, countless summits, dialogues, and one joint vision. What makes Prime Minister Modi's Japan outreach unique is the combination of personal warmth balanced with firm strategy with one clear message. The India-Japan partnership is here to stay. In a world of shifting alliances, with both New Delhi and Tokyo facing the brunt of US President Trump's arbitrary tariffs, the two countries are ready to script their next chapter together, keeping their national interests at the forefront. With Disha Bakchi, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, with that, shifting tracks to other stories, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chinese President Xi Jinping, as well as Russian President Vladimir Putin will be among the world leaders attending a regional security forum in China next week. They will gather at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization 2025 summit, which will be held in the Chinese port of Tianjin from August 31st to September 1st. Prime Minister Modi would be visiting China after more than 7 years as the two neighbouring countries work on further diffusing tensions foiled by the deadly border clashes in 2020. Meanwhile, India has said that it expects the grouping to strongly condemn cross-border terrorism. This report breaks down the details of the visit. Take a look.
China is rolling out the red carpet for the all-important Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, expected to signal a powerful show of global South unity. From Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin, to several leaders from Central Asia, the Middle East, and more at the table, the Chinese city of Tianjin will be at the center of high-stakes diplomacy, aiming to redefine the global order, where the West's dominance will no longer be tolerated. All eyes are on the expansion of the SCO, with this year's summit likely to be the largest since the bloc's conception in 2001. Trade and counter-terrorism are expected to dominate talks. India is pushing for a strong condemnation of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, in the joint declaration. Roughly 6 months since the devastating Pahalgam attack.
Declaration at this summit that is under finalization, the text. We are working with other members and partners to see that there should be a reiteration of the strong condemnation of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism. But the text is under finalization.
This comes after Defence Minister Rajnath Singh took a firm stance and did not sign the joint declaration in June, as it did not mention the terror attack, but made direct references to militant activities in Balochistan. For New Delhi, the visit will be pivotal. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit to China in more than 7 years, as the two neighbors work on further diffusing tensions roiled by the Galwan clashes of 2020. Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold key bilaterals with the Chinese president, the Russian president, as well as the Iranian leadership. A forum largely dominated by Moscow and Beijing, the SCO gives New Delhi the platform to engage with two nations now crucial to its diplomatic power play against Washington. With tariffs tightening and pressure mounting over Russian oil, Prime Minister Modi's China visit will mark a strategic recalibration, a new balancing act in a divided world. Listen up, President Trump. It's the Global South speaking. One that will no longer tolerate Washington's bullying, but stand strong and united. With Disha Bagchi, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, with that, switching tracks to other stories. As the Ukraine-Russia war rages on, a heavy Russian drone and missile attack on Ukraine's capital killed at least 8 people and injured many more early on Thursday. The number of dead and injured was expected to rise as rescue teams continue to search for people trapped underneath the rubble. Russia launched decoy drones, cruise missiles as well as ballistic missiles, according to the head of Kiev's city administration. At least 20 locations across 7 districts of Kiev had impacts. Nearly 100 buildings were damaged, including a shopping mall in the city centre, and thousands of windows were shattered. This comes as peace talks in the Ukraine war seem to be stalled, with no location reached for a possible meeting between Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky. Switching tracks to other stories, a shooter opened fire with a rifle on Wednesday through the windows of a Catholic church in Minneapolis and struck some of nearly 200 children celebrating Mass during the first week of school. Killing 2 and wounding 17 people in the act of violence, the police chief called absolutely incomprehensible. Armed with a rifle, shotgun and pistol, 23-year-old Robin Westman approached the side of the church and shot dozens of rounds through the windows towards the children sitting in pews during the Mass at the Anglican Catholic School. FBI Director Kash Patel said that the FBI was investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. Now, the shooter had "Kill Donald Trump" and "Nuke India" written on his guns. A video on his now deleted YouTube channel showed. Listen in to some of the reactions.
At this point, we know we have a total of 19 victims from this tragedy. 2 were young children, ages 8 and 10, that were sitting in the pews at Mass when they were shot and killed. They were pronounced deceased on the scene. There were another 14 children between the ages of 6 and 15 that were injured by gunfire. There were also 3 adults in their 80s that were parishioners here attending Mass that were also shot in this incident. The families of all of the children that have been affected have been notified.
And there's no words that are going to ease the pain of the families today. On behalf of all the people of Minnesota, our deepest sympathies. A wish that any of these words would make what you're feeling now better, but it won't. A place that's founded on community, founded on service, founded on family.
Well, President Trump's push to deploy National Guard troops across U.S. cities is growing, as the president threatened Chicago as the next city he would target after his administration's federal takeover of Washington, prompting Democratic pushback calling the proposed actions un-American. Yet behind the aggressive talk, the data actually shows that most U.S. violent crimes has been in a steady decline in recent years. This report explains. Take a look.
President Donald Trump has been very critical of many American cities, but especially Chicago, New York City, Seattle, San Francisco, Baltimore, and Portland, Oregon. He's suggested, threatened to send National Guard troops into those cities like he has in Washington, D.C., to fight crime. He says Chicago is a hellhole, a killing field. Yet statistics, crime data, show that most violent crimes in these communities have been on a steady decline. Homicides in the first 6 months of this year are down in all 6 of those cities compared to the same period in 2024. Interestingly, despite national data that shows violent crimes declining, there is a difference in public opinion. A majority of Americans polled have said recently that they believe that crime is a major problem in big cities. So there's a perception that runs counter to some of those statistics. While the president has talked about what he sees as an unacceptable rash of violent crime, it's interesting that experts say that more than 90% of police calls have nothing to do with violent crime. So it's really unclear what the Guard members would do in these big cities.
While children tracks to other stories, dramatic visuals show as a brawl erupted in Mexican Senate when 2 politicians shoved each other during a plenary session in the country's capital. While visuals show the chamber's president and the leader of opposition exchanged shoves and a punch. According to the opposition leader, the clash began after the opposition party members repeatedly requested the floor during the session but were denied by the ruling party in his role as presiding officer. As the anthem concluded, the opposition leader approached the podium and began arguing with him, leading to physical altercation. While shifting tracks to other stories, some 200,000 people have been evacuated as floods devastate parts of Pakistan's Punjab province. Authorities in Pakistan's eastern Punjab province on Wednesday called for army assistance in rescue and relief efforts after torrential rain caused major rivers to swell. Mass evacuations began earlier this week in 6 districts of Punjab after heavier than normal monsoon rains and release of water from overflowing dams in neighbouring India triggered flash floods in low-lying border areas. Well, with that, we're slipping into a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Welcome back. This is Reet, Kaur, Sahni, and you're watching the World Report on NDTV. The Indian economy is projected to reach 20.7 trillion by 2030 and potentially 34.2 trillion by 2038, according to August 2025 edition of EY's Economy Watch. The report shows India's strong economic fundamentals, favourable demographics, as well as ongoing structural reforms as key drivers of its long-term growth. My colleague Sakshi Bajaj brings us more on this.
That's right. As per the latest EY report, India may become the world's second largest economy by 2038. Now, this projection, remember, by EY is in purchasing power parity terms. Now, when we say purchasing power parity terms, and they are expecting India's economy to surpass that $20 trillion mark, well, purchasing power parity, for our viewers to understand, is basically measuring standards of living across countries. For instance, for our viewers to understand, what is $1 being, is what can a consumer can take and buy really and purchase really from $1 as against 1 rupee. So it's really a measuring standards of living across currencies really, and this projection is coming for that. Now they're saying that look, India can surpass and really take over the adverse impact of US tariffs as well. India is emerging as far as the world's largest 5 economies are concerned. India is emerging as the most dynamic amongst them. So this report is clearly highlighting all of that and also saying that look, India's economic fundamentals at the moment remain very, very strong. Now what economists are really making of this report? Well, they say that look, firstly, this report is long-term in nature. Remember, it is projecting for 2038. So we have to keep that in mind. Of course, they're also saying that look, reforms and implementation is really the need of the hour for this projection to really reflect on the charts. So really, as far as the report is concerned, it's a big boost for India coming on a day like this, a critical time for the report to be released, but a lot in wait and watch mode as far as implementation is concerned.
While shifting focus to the world of entertainment, the fan favourite The Office is getting a spin-off. The highly anticipated The Office spin-off, titled The Paper, is set to premiere on the 4th of September. This time turning the cameras as a falling local newspaper in Toledo, Ohio. Led by Donald Gleason and featuring the comeback of Oscar Nunez as The Office's fan favourite accountant, Oscar Martinez. The Office itself shares space with the toilet paper company, adding to the absurdity. From budget cuts to eccentric colleagues, Ned must navigate through chaos while trying to inspire a team of unserious reporting. While shifting tracks to other stories, now to a compelling conversation with Kwon Hansel, also known as Hansel Won Kwon, the visionary Korean filmmaker pushing the boundaries of cinema through AI. In an exclusive interview with my colleague Arjun, of course, he's talked about Hansel's bold ideas on the future of generative AI, its ethical implications, and how creativity and code are reshaping storytelling as we know it. Take a look.
Being the first of your generation, so to say, being a pioneer in AI filmmaking, where do you see and how do you see cinema in the next 10 years?
일단 당장 AI 시장에서는 10년은커녕 앞으로 1, 2년도 예측하기 힘들지만 변함없을 것은 AI는 도구로서 사용이 되고 사람이 스토리텔링이나 이런 것들을 기본적으로 창작을 하고 그거를 좀 보조해주는 역할과 그걸 표현해주는 역할로 생성 AI가 사용되는 쪽으로 흘러갈 것 같아요.
So it is really difficult to make predictions in this AI industry, not even like 1 or 2 years, but I bet that AI will definitely still become a tool and the humans are going to become a storyteller and the creators, and we are going to use AI as a tool to make a generative AIs.
With that, we're sipping into a very short break. Till then, stay tuned and keep watching NDTV.